Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for watching. So I'm just making this video to sort of explain and talk about the project that I'm going to be documenting with my upcoming series with the 4x5 how-to videos. So my Come As You Are series, and just a little bit of an explanation and sort of how it came to be. Something that I've had in the works for a little while. I've been working on it now for about 6 months. And I had the idea for about 8 months ago. Like I thought about it even before I started working on it for my VCR class, because that's what this is ultimately for. This is for my Year 12 class, but it's sort of moved to something a little bit bigger than that, because it's becoming like a way for me to test my skills in general as a photographer, and it's also a bit of a portfolio booster for myself when I start applying for uni and that. So the series I first got inspired to do it when last year I was doing research on this Canadian-Armenian photographer, Yusuf Karsh. He's regarded as one of the greatest portrait photographers of all time, and I definitely agree with that. He was incredible, and he had this quote that I found when I was researching his work, and the quote goes, "There is a brief moment when all there is in a man's mind and soul is reflected through his eyes, his hands, and his attitude. This is a moment to record." And after I first heard that and put it into my essay that I was writing for the class, it started getting my brain working a little bit. I was thinking about, that is wow, that is incredible. That is what I want to do with my photography, and now that someone had put it into words for me already, how can I make that a reality? How can I use this to better my own work? And I was thinking, it's already telling me how. That is what I need to record. That little moment that he's talking about. And when I thought about that initially, it sounds kind of simple, right? Like, okay, just look for this thing, but it's not. It is a combination of a lot of factors that play into who we are as people. So it's very much talking about, well, my interpretation of it is, it's very much talking about how we express ourselves. So that, and in doing so, how we express ourselves through our face, obviously, through our eyes, and like you said, through our hands and our attitudes, but also how we dress, you know, how we have our hair, what we surround ourselves with. And so I realized I needed to combine all of these factors to create an image that is a decently accurate, at least, reflection of who these people are. And my initial approach to it was, alright, keep it simple. They are the subject, they are all that is in frame. So I went to a very basic studio setup. So I had backdrop and my lights and stuff. I had these people come in. I had about 50 people initially message me. I ended up doing about 30, just because of people not being able to make it and stuff like that, or me not being able to get to them. Had about 30 people, actually photographed, and yeah, so it worked. I'll say that it did work. I did get some really nice photos and stuff, but after my last session I did, like one of the last shoots I did was with John Muir, who's an Australian explorer, and he's also a neighbour of mine. He lives just down the road from me. He's a really, really interesting person. He's incredible. He's walked alone by himself across the centre of Australia. He's done both poles multiple times. He was a guide in the Andes. He's walked the Himalayas. He's been everywhere and done everything. He's a really interesting bloke. And when I was there, I was taking photos of him and his wife Susan. I had the opportunity to go out to the home and take photos there of them. And I was setting all my stuff inside, and Susan asked if we could take our photos outside instead. I'm like, all right, sure, that sounds really cool. So she went off with my mom. They went and got set up, and I was taking photos of John in front of this backdrop, and I'm thinking, this isn't working. This doesn't work for me. Like, it's not right, because it just has him, and the photos themselves are quite nice. I still quite like the photos I took of him with the backdrop, but they didn't do him justice. Like, it sort of took him and it sort of put him in place with everybody else. Like, looking at the photos, it's all very similar in just the overall look of it, I guess, in a way. Like, I mean, obviously each photo is different with each person, how they dress and hold themselves and stuff, but it's all just a studio shot to me. Yeah, anyway. So I was like, all right, screw this. Got rid of the backdrop, put it back in my backpack, and ended up taking 3 photos of him on my 4x5. I haven't got them developed yet, but I took similar shots on my digital, and they were of him with his dog in front, with and without his dog, in front of his fireplace, just with a rocking chair, and his kilt with all of his necklaces and stuff. These photos have ended up being some of my favourite photos. I love them. Like, just everything that is in it, it all just works so well, because the walls and everything he's got around them, they're so telling of, you know, just a little bit about him. You know, you got the animal pelts, you got the out the window, you've got the plants and stuff. It's very, you know, like it. You look at this photo and you see a little bit more of John than just him. You know, you see a little bit of himself in his surroundings. So then when I went back outside with Susan and took her photos, she was sitting underneath this big old red gum tree, just in a hollow at the base of the ground, and she had this little campfire going in front of her. She had a, you know, bark plate full of berries, and she had this little like water jug thing. We took some photos there because they're both very intertwined with nature, and they're very, you know, very salt of the earth type people. And these photos wouldn't have worked the same if I took either of their photos in front of the backdrop. It just didn't fit right. It wasn't capturing I wasn't doing what I wanted to do with these photos. So I was like, all right, I'm probably going to need to change my approach. And then I confirmed that the next weekend I went to the city and took some photos of my friend Regan. A whole bunch of those photos are down in my Instagram. I'll put a link down below. So we went around a few places in the city. I asked her, can you take me somewhere that means something to you? She's like, all right, sure, let's go. Got on the tram, went to the Shrine of Remembrance. We went right up to the top to a little lookout thing. And I got these photos of her. They're some of my favorites from that weekend. Of her looking out over the city, just everything laid out in front of her. And then her sort of, you know, obviously closer to me in the camera, just looking out. And after doing that, and then some other photos of her in the Botanical Gardens and further up, you know, just around the city and stuff, I realized, all right, yep, I need to change how I'm doing this. So from that 25 list, I've narrowed it down to about 15, and I'm going to be in contact with them. I'm getting into contact with them to arrange times to do their photo shoots. And also from that list, again, I'm probably going to narrow it down to further 8 to have printed and published. Yeah, and the reason that I wanted to make this video to explain to you what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it is because I think it's really important to be able to put work into context, especially photos, because photos, the context that surrounds them is so important. You can look at a photo and construe it one way when the photographer saw it in a completely different other. So especially with pieces like this, I want people to know what it is I'm trying to put through, the meaning behind them and the message that I'm trying to give. And yeah, so like my inspirations and stuff, they played a lot of roles in making these photos the way they are. I've got 3 big ones. There's Yusuf Karsh, obviously, like I mentioned before. There's also Jimmy Nelson. He's an English photographer who specializes in like indigenous cultures around the world. I just got his book. This is the book, by the way. Yeah, so it's an incredible book, and it's really helped me cement what it is I want to do with my photography. So, and besides, as well as Jimmy Nelson and Yusuf Karsh, there's also another person. His name was Edward S. Curtis. He was an American photographer who took photos of Native American culture back in the late 1890s. And his photos are one of the only existing proper documentation of Native American culture at the time. It's like his work has like over 700 plate photos, because back then this was before film, right? So these are big glass and steel plates, tin plates. It's over 700 photos that he took, and it's incredible. And what I want to do with these, nothing of course on that grander scale, but sort of document the people in my life, document those around me, and how it is that they show themselves, their little bits of culture, you know, just like their own microcultures that exist within them, and their individuality, and how it is that they portray that to the world, what it is they show us. You know, there's that little bit of vulnerability that's required in this type of series. I really want to, you know, I want to accentuate that. I want to really show who these people are to the best of my ability. So yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a link down to my Instagram in the description if you want to go check out some more of my work. Next week I will be filming for my first installment of my 4x5 series when I go to Melbourne for a few days. Very excited to start with that, and then in the weeks following I'll be doing the other 2 videos to go along with that. Yeah, and as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys later.